give give people on the stream globally throughout the event a little bit of context, not only about the technical side of it, but also why is it important for social reasons, why it's important for you personally. Yeah? So yeah, my name is Pavel Czech, I'm the CEO of Natively, and do a quick intro.
Yep. Corey Cooper, I lead the umbrella at Circle, and I've been at Circle for 5 years. And so, one of the things I feel like is super important right now is this intersection between blockchain and AI, focus more on agentic commerce. So, Circle just recently launched Work, which is a layer 1 medium blockchain. One of our major use cases is agentic commerce. And so we believe that there's going to be a future where a lot of the payments that happen over the internet will be happening with agents. And we want that to happen with USDC and ultimately open art, which has a lot of characteristics and attributes about it that make settlement a little bit more clear.
Yeah, Bhushan. I work on AI R&D at Circle, and I'm tremendously excited that you're on here, and also about the future of like intersection of AI and blockchain. I think the reason blockchain stablecoins become very important for AI agents is programmable. Like prior to blockchain, you couldn't program money. Like moving money was extremely difficult, and where AI plays a role is we as humans do transactions like handful times a day, like maybe 3 times to 5 times. But AI agents can do like tens of thousands of times. And XOR is a prime example for that. That's not just the only protocol, but there is others. I think the ecosystem is very rapidly growing in this space, and it's still very early. But another aspect of blockchain which I really like is you get auditability and transparency, which is very important. It doesn't have to come at the cost of privacy, which is where R comes in. It allows you to have private transactions in an auditable fashion. So that kind of predictable, like AI agents would generally have no predictability, but balancing that with like money is very important, and that's where the intersection plays a very nice role in my opinion.
That's exactly what I was hoping for you guys to share is some of the core principles that you believe guide the technology forward, right? So for me, on my personal side, the core principle is about democratizing access, and it's really this concept of universal basic ownership. Yeah. So the equalization of opportunity is what drives the adoption of this technology in such a fast way. And this is why I believe we're seeing such leaps in terms of how fast new models are being adopted, new frameworks like agentic frameworks have been adopted, and now the collision of artificial intelligence and blockchain technology will drive extremely fast adoption. So being first is very important, right? So and if you can get in and like Circle is providing art basically to everybody without limitation, no boundaries there. So it's very close to my heart to see a very big company, a multi-billion-dollar company, going out and saying, okay, we are offering this opportunity regardless of where you're from, what's your background, what's your social economical standing, whether you are in New York, whether you're outside of New York. So I believe that sticking to those principles will guide adoption. So I'm curious whether you've seen that from the community, from the team, also at Circle, what are the guiding principles inside your teams, your whole company, but also in the community?
Yeah, we've seen that. So one thing we want to. Yeah, so you mentioned about kind of like the guiding principles, and so we learned a lot from USDC. And so when we put USDC out into the world, one of the first use cases we saw was dollar access. So it was giving people an opportunity to now have something equivalent to a dollar bank account, because anyone could spin a private public key pair on a blockchain and store USDC in a wallet, and it would be kind of comfortable to them having like cash, on their phone. And so, from kind of seeing how that spread naturally, organically, based off of people, wanting to have better savings technology, we felt that, there was more work to do at the base layer to remove certain friction points based off of people wanting to use blockchain technology for basically, bank accounts. And so one of those things was, okay, how do we make this feel like what they're used to feeling like when they transact in traditional finance? And, gas fees are designed to basically, mitigate the risk of a blockchain being spammed. And so, we wanted to make sure like we didn't get rid of gas, but how could we design it in a way where someone who's transacting with USDC can feel like they're transacting in the traditional world with dollars in their bank account. So coupling the gas with the actual token was something we wanted to make sure we designed in a way where it just reduced that friction or eliminated it basically altogether. And so being able to release this new chain arc and have, the gas be USDC, the token be USDC, really is going to help accelerate the adoption and democratization of finance across the world. And so very excited to kind of see that. The decentralization component is super important. The reason why is because, like, she had mentioned, programmability is like super important. I think that's the game changer. If you're talking to someone, why would someone, build Web 2, technology versus Web 3 when it comes to financials? It's the programmability aspect. And so, since it's an open EVM chain, anybody can deploy it in a smart contract and design logic around, the stablecoins that need to be deployed on Arc and build these very complex transaction flows that I think can be very dynamic for the financial industry and people as well who leverage these financial services.
I totally agree that those guiding principles that we mentioned that impact actual product decisions, right? Because it's not the other way around, actually, right? It's not that you make these product decisions and then take a step back. No, you first establish the guiding principles, and then from those, you make sure that the technology fulfills the requirements of those principles. So I really like that approach. I'm wondering on the AI front, right? One of the things you mentioned is that agents and AI systems are able and capable of running, extremely rapid transactions. And one of the biggest challenges that I've noticed on a global scale is that the cost of these transactions in the API, let's say, world, in the call world, right, to AI systems, is prohibitive. And I believe that one of our goals together as a community should be to drive the cost of the transaction to such a low level that it becomes, almost something that you never think about. So I'm wondering, how are you approaching that from a technical perspective, addressing using ARC and USDC for multiple rapid transactions where, agents are doing hundreds of thousands and millions of transactions?
Yeah, I was just like, I guess the first part, pass it over to see what you would say. I think, one, the consensus engine built in ARC is built off of Malachite. So look at it is consensus engine, where it's Tendermint basically rewritten in Rust, and the team that built it, they were experimenting of what consensus engine that had very low latency, combined with the EVM execution layer could look like. Basically, combine like Ref, which is a Rust version of EVM client on the execution layer with Malachite, and they saw really, really great responses from just low latent, high throughput transactions that are being processed at scale, and wanted to kind of see, could they design something that would be comparable to what you see with Visa, maybe like 100,000 transactions per second. And so our consensus engine is very robust to be able to handle agentic transactions at scale. And so, and then you couple it with, when you bring transactions on chain, the cost of those transactions tremendously goes down. And then also to couple with the way we, like I said, the way we designed our consensus engine compared with the execution layer, it gives us the ability to optimize for one block confirmations that are sub-second. So, those things kind of, the way we design ARC make it, designed to handle these agentic payments at scale. But I'll pass it over to Shit and kind of talk about some other aspects as well.
Just before we start, this is a very technical conversation, which is great for this room, which I really love, and also we don't always get to have time together with the top tier technical providers to actually take a deeper dive, right, and answer these questions from, again, a guiding principles perspective that impact the design and actual development and delivery layer for the individual developer, and then ultimately that define the user experience, right? So I just wanted to say that I really appreciate kind of that level of detail as well, so it's really great to hear, and I hope you guys will then have some questions in the room after we kind of get this. I'll pass on the mic and anybody can ask the question, so you can have a little bit of time to think about what the question is, and then we can have a small Q&A if that's okay. Well, go ahead, please talk about agent to agent, rapid transaction, cost of transaction, and your way of thinking about it.
Absolutely. I mean, Ori already painted a great picture, took a good time on that. I'll start and build on top of that, right? So we have, with our, we have already taken the fundamental and given instant finality and L on that. And the thing which was possible even before blockchains, I couldn't send 0.01 cent, like 100th of a cent to someone. It's just impossible because of the fees. And that just cannot be done on traditional rails. And what we are seeing now, a lot of the payments done by agents are micro payments, even nano payments maybe. So like what blockchain gives us is at the same fee, you can move very tiny to very large transactions. It's not percentage based anymore. That changes the game altogether. And one of the things which R gives us as an L1 is instant finality without any rollout. The other thing which we are seeing and which we are working on is something called Gateway, which is our product, and integrating that into micro payments. And the reason is, if you want to do a 0.00001 transaction, you don't want to pay gas on it. So what we have done is, we are going to release something on testnet, which we have announced, is called Gateway Matching, and that will integrate with X402, and we will extend it to other protocols as well. The way it works is you initiate one transaction into the smart contract and have a balance there, and then you can have many micro transactions on top of it batched together, and then we periodically settle that transactions on the blockchain. So you still get instant settlement to a certain extent. The batching becomes the instant settlement portion, but you get guarantee that your transaction will be passed on to the whoever you send it to, the recipient. And it can be very, very small without paying any gas, and that opens a whole new paradigm of being able to do things which we couldn't do before. So it's a whole new area, whole new economy we are developing on that front. which is personally what I'm feeling excited about.
So absolutely, it is the AI economy, and it is the ability to settle a security layer, yeah, deciding on what's real when AI produces it, or it's whether there's human in the loop. You can almost think about the watermark of reality, yeah, and whether that's a transaction or whether that's any interaction between agents. It can be stored on-chain if there's a settlement connected to it, if it's a financial component. So I'm very excited about all the use cases that are coming from this. We'll open it up to the room. Yeah, if anybody would like to ask a question, we will be happy to answer. And we'll take maybe 3, 4, 5 questions max, and then I have a last question for you, and then we'll finish up.
Hi guys, pretty excited to be here. One of the biggest questions in all finance is asking is, when does Circle become the next Visa? How does that look like for you guys? It seems very obvious that that's the direction it's going. So I'm pretty excited to hear if there's already a plan internally about a Circle card, so we can escape the hell that is MasterCard and Visa. What are your thoughts on that?
So we're not going to become the next Visa. Visa is one of our partners. So what Circle is focused on is building the strongest base layer technology at the protocol level of blockchain to be able to give companies like Visa access to design core products that interface with our stablecoin, as well as our blockchain market, to be able to handle, using blockchain as the base layer database for storage of money and money movement. One trend that we're seeing that is really blowing up, especially in the APAC region, is a lot of startups are launching, like one of them is called Raincast. They are launching these card products where you're able to issue, Visa issued debit cards or credit cards that actually map back to an actual non-custodial wallet, and use that wallet basically as the funding mechanism of funding transactions that you make with your Visa card. And so even MetaMask, they launched their card product as well. It's doing pretty well as well. So that's a trend, and so the majority of these card products, they're using USDC as the priority token of choice to fund basically these dollar transactions that are going through their authorization, flows or whatever, to fund those transactions.
Just got a second
Yeah.
part to that question.
Let's get on this question, and then we'll come back.
Hey, thanks for being here, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Great to meet you both.
Pleasure.
Just a quick question. How does validation work on your partner network? Meaning, what would proof of stake look like if it's not 32 ETH?
So right now we have a small validation network. It's permissioned. So basically, there's a few companies that we're working with that handle our validation, and so obviously there are certain things I can't actually kind of expand on what the requirements of those validator requirements, but we basically have a proof of authority approach, which you can read about in our light paper around how we handle validation. There is a future roadmap to expanding that network of validators, but right now, there's not much I can kind of disclose on where we're going to go with that. But it does not, proof of authority obviously is different than proof of stake, and how, validators handle, that in the Ethereum ecosystem with staking 32 ETH. Like, we don't do that.
So it's a different consensus mechanism.
Yeah.
And it's called
Proof of authority. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So if you go to our ARC Network website, there's a light paper, and you can read up on the proof of authority, approach.
Thank you so much.
Hey, so the second part to that question, given that there is substantially savings, cost savings, to send $1 million or $10 million across the sea. Partnering with Visa seems like counterintuitive at that point because they're still charging 3 or 5% to the merchants. So the ethos of like how originally Bitcoin started 12 years ago when I was mining was the idea to get away from the financial institutions, but it just seems like we're being swapped. What's your thoughts on that?
I think, these companies, they have their own business models. I think we're not in the business of kind of like dictating or trying to influence how they handle their business models or financials. Our focus here is just giving them the best technology to move money. And so I really don't have an answer for you on like what they should be doing around their financial models when it comes to how they charge, per transaction. But I would like to reiterate, like, we are enabling these companies to leverage basically a new base layer infrastructure for more efficient money movement.
So maybe not speaking for Circle, right? But just on a general comment on the state of the industry, right? NVIDIA, as a great example, has outperformed the market in terms of chip production and delivery. And there's a great saying which is, their profit is our opportunity. So I think that this applies to all business models, always, whether that's Google, whether that's payment providers. So I think that's part of the work that's in front of us in this hackathon and moving forward, building actual companies that use this base layer technology, is to create products that address this issue on a global level. And the market is actually going bigger, bigger, and bigger. So there's enough room for the incumbent players to still introduce new layers and new services, and completely new players to emerge ground up and take profit and take the opportunity where incumbents are seeking to maximize profit. And in the end, that benefits the end consumer and the end user, right? So that's what we should be searching for. That's what I'm searching for. That's what a lot of people, starting startups are searching for. And because we have a completely new layer of AI technology, we can outperform and outpace incumbent players that will take half a year, 2 years to introduce, for example, agent-to-agent payments on a global scale, which, coming out of this room at the end of today, we will have probably 100 solutions that will already have that technology built in, and then it's a question of go-to-market scaling, going after that profit. So I think your question rather says that there's a big opportunity, which doesn't mean that the pie isn't growing bigger, bigger, and bigger, right? So that's the two things are true at the same time.